It's time for the Lowell Green Show, originating live on blasttheradio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Now, yesterday, a little bit late in the program, I asked your opinion on whether we should do anything to help young people buy their first home. And because it was so late in the program, we really didn't have a chance to hear from any of you, or actually a couple of people did respond. But I would like you to think seriously about this today, and I'll tell you why. I have an idea here, and of course, any idea can be amended or it can be shot down. But I have an idea that I want to present to the Conservative Party. There's no question that Justin Trudeau won the youth vote because of his promise to legalize marijuana. It seems to me that one of the problems the Conservatives have, other than attracting the female vote, is to attract the young vote. And it's also very, very true that it's extremely difficult for young people today to buy their first home. A very good friend of mine living in Canada, their son and his wife just bought their first home. He's, I guess, he would be in his late 30s, early 40s, first home. A home that last year in Canada would have sold for probably in the range of six and a quarter. Over $1 million they had to pay for it. There were 12 offers. They had to get in there and sort of compete with 11 other people. And they finally bought it for well over $1 million. So it's okay if you've got two people making really good money. But even then, it's difficult to find the down payment. As you know, some of the mortgage rules have just toughened up as well. So my question is, in your opinion, and please, I know a lot of people just sort of use this as a love-in with each other, but to me, this is a serious question. And I'd like some serious answers from some thoughtful answers from some of you. If you disagree, if you don't think it's a good idea, then let's hear it. And because, as I say, I am preparing a presentation to go to Aaron O'Toole and to Pierre Poilievre to make this suggestion. The idea is this. I don't know how many of you are aware of a program that's been operational in this country, certainly in this province, for a long time, called the Registered Education Savings Plan. This is a great plan, and it's working very, very well. And as I say, has helped a lot of young people pay tuition or other university or college expenses. My plan is very, very similar to that. So you don't have to sort of, rewrite the whole episode here. We've got a plan already that works very well. Let's more or less copy it. But instead of helping people get into university or college, let's help young people buy their first home. And I stress that we're talking here about their first home. If you already have a home, you've probably already made a bundle of money. Your home value has probably doubled or tripled in the last few years. So essentially what it is, the plan, the RESP plan, and my plan, very similar, as I say, for homeowners, is where anyone can contribute to a fund. It's a registered fund. Now, I think with the RESP, I think it's a private company that handles this. But for every dollar that is put in, and anybody can contribute here, we as grandparents have contributed for all three of our grandchildren. The parents contribute, and if the grandchildren are able to earn money, some of them have contributed as well. So in other words, anybody can contribute to the plan. And for every dollar that you put in or someone puts into this plan to buy the first home, the government will put in 20 cents. 20 cents on the dollar. That's the way it works with RESP. So when you go to buy your first home, you have this registered retirement plan, which then you can cash in. If you do not buy the home, you can get all those who contributed can get their money back. You do not get the 20 cents on the dollar that the government contributed. It goes back to the government. So it's intended specifically for first-time home buyers. Now, it may be that some of you think there should be an age limit. I'm not sure. But my argument is this. It's become, as I say, very difficult, if not impossible, for a lot of people to buy their first home. And I think the country is better off if people own their homes. I really do. I think that I think it's a healthier country. I understand that a lot of people rent, and that's fine as well. But I still think that if we have the more homeowners, I think that we have in this country, I think the better off we are. It would help spur the economy. There's no question about it. But my other argument is this. We have all sorts of government plans now. If you want to put new insulation in your house or put new windows or doors that apparently insulate a little bit better, the government will contribute up to $5,000. And how about this? If you want to buy a very expensive electric car, I'm not sure how much the government kicks in now, but at one point they were kicking in up to $20,000, $30,000. So if we can help rich people buy very expensive cars, if we can help people rent, people who already the value of their home has probably doubled or trebled in the last 2 or 3 years, if we can give them money to improve the value of their home, seems to me that it might be a good idea. And I want to hear from you. Please think about this. The real question is this: should we, in any way at all, help young people buy their first home? Has the situation reached a point now where if we're not going to help them, home ownership for a lot of people is just a hopeless dream and never be able to do it? And as I say, if you have two incomes, if you have good pension plans and so forth, you may be able to get a mortgage. In many cases, I suspect that sometimes the mortgage is really more than they should take on, but at least they have a home. So my question then is, should we help young people buy their first home? Do you think that this is a good idea, bad idea? Have you got any other ideas how we might help them? Or should we just forget about it? I mean, I suppose one of the arguments is, look, I bought my house. Nobody helped me, except in many cases, our parents, I think, did help buy your first home. And some parents may be able to do it now. But perhaps the best way to do it is contribute to this registered plan. The government will put in 20 cents for every dollar that you contribute. What do you think? John, what's the number to call? What's the text number there, please?
Number here is the same one you can call or text, 613-413-2217. If you're following along on Facebook or Twitch or YouTube, the number is on your screen. Again, 613-413-2217. And we do have some comments starting to flow in. Joshua says, of course we're better off. A home is an asset in many ways. It offers family and financial stability. Yes. Chrissy says, we're coming out of a pandemic. How can some people be able to afford the prices of houses these days? She does think your program is a great idea, by the way. Cheryl says she thinks this is a fantastic idea. Kathy says a first-time home buyer is able to borrow from their RRSPs if they have them. And Long Point Driver says, I can afford to pay $2,600 a month in rent, but cannot meet the requirements to buy a house. Some of the comments.
Yeah, I mean that's a very common situation. There's no question, and I'm not suggesting that this plan is going to rescue everybody. I mean, if you have a low income job, very clearly you may never own a home, but at least it's what I'm saying is that it seems to me it's just as important, and I think the justification is the same. If we're going to help people improve the value of their already very valuable home, that. In some ways, this bothers me a little bit. I don't know if I want to get into that, but I mean, here we are. We're going to give $5,000 to people who improve the insulation in their home. But in all probability, the value of that home in the last 2 or 3 years, John, is probably doubled, maybe?
Oh, easily,
doubled,
if not more.
So we're still giving money to people who obviously their asset is really, really appreciated in value. So it seems to me that, if we're going to do that, and if we're going to help rich people buy $120,000 electric automobiles, seems to me that we might have an idea that maybe we could help young people buy their first home. And not only that, but this is a savings plan, don't forget, okay? So I think, among other things, it encourages saving, which I think everybody agrees is a good idea. It's a registered savings plan. I would call it Registered Home Savings Plan. The other one is the Registered Education Savings Plan. This would be a Registered Home Plan, okay? Savings Plan. Greg is on the phone. Yes, Greg, what's your view here, Greg?
Oh, I think you hit the nail right on the head, Lowell. Great. I think it would be a good thing for young people. to get them to start saving and eventually have some skin in the game, and eventually have an asset that they get some equity in.
Yes.
And it's the Canadian way.
So do you like the idea that, I mean, as I say, the template's already been established with the education program, and it works very well. As I say, we have taken part in for all three of the grandchildren, and my wife handles it, and it works very, very well. It's very simple. By the way, the registered education savings plan, from what I can see, very well organized. Anytime we want information, it's available to us. It seems to me that if we instituted a similar plan for home ownership, that even if we use the same company that we use for education, to me it's very well organized and works very well. We have already, in the case of our eldest granddaughter, we have already implemented the plan. She's going to Algonquin, and we have already cashed in part of the plan for her. Works very, very well. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for your call, sir. I appreciate thoughtful calls. I really do. Thank you. I have another question. And by the way, I hope that we get some more comments on this. As I say, I know that very often people sort of respond here. They're saying hi to each other. Oh, that's fine. That's great. But there is a purpose to the program, and that is to give you a chance to express your view. And I am very serious. There is no question that if the Conservatives are going to win, that's one of my reasons for wanting to do this. I feel that it would be a tremendous boost at the polling stations for the Conservatives, that this would influence, I think, a lot of young voters. If the Conservatives were to come out with this plan and say, listen, you know what? We're going to help young people buy their first home. We realize how difficult it is. So please respond, okay? It's very easy to do. Just text us, or we'll take phone calls. John, you have some more texts coming in.
Yes, we do. By the way, I love the idea, especially, I mean, you look at a house, and like you said, it doubles in prices. Think of the tax benefits back to the government when you sell a house for 2-3 times the price you sold it for. Think of the property
Well,
tax.
actually, there's no capital gains on homes, so
that's true, I suppose.
The government doesn't get any money there. Although I must tell you that this government is thinking seriously about instituting some sort of capital gains on your home. Look out.
Well, you see, I'm just thinking ahead. There you go.
There you go.
Some of the comments coming in. Sonia says, what a fabulous idea. Unreal, the price of houses now. Not sure how a young person can afford to buy a home. Cheryl says, I believe it provides stability for them and their families. Peter says, this is a brilliant idea, Lowell. David says, great idea. Mike says, I also think this is a great idea. Dean chimes in, says, I'm a senior engineer with no kids and a very good salary. And the only reason I can afford a house is that I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours from Ottawa. There's no way I could afford anything in Ottawa right now. If someone like me cannot afford a house, how are young adults making half my salary supposed to?
Doesn't answer the question, though. Should we help young people? That's the question. We know the difficulty in buying. We understand what's happening to home prices, but my question, and I appreciate your text. No, don't be mistaken. But the question is, should we help young people? And is this idea, the government chipping in, as I say, 20 cents for every dollar? And I just thought of it now. In addition to everything else, you're right, and Greg pointed this out, that this is a savings plan. It encourages people to save. I think that saving is very healthy. I think that home ownership is very healthy. And I'm going to tell you something. I think it would give a boost to the economy. Now, one of the fears might be that it might create even more inflation in the price of homes. I don't know. I think we would have to see. But whatever it is, I'm just simply asking, should we help young people buy their first home? Keep in mind that this is their first home. Now, there could be limits on the amount. I'm not sure what it is with the education plan, whether there is a limit on how much you can contribute. I'm not sure. So the government, could have limits on it. You might want to have limits on age. I don't know. But the question really is the concept itself. And most of the comments we're getting so far, John, seem pretty positive on this. So I'm quite encouraged, no question about it. I have 2 or 3 other topics which I want to get into, but first I want to read a text that has come from my good friend Mark Shield of Shield Appliances, shields.ca. Good morning, Lowell. Thank you, Mark. I thought I would update you on some new exciting things going on here at the store. We're now offering full installation services of dishwashers and built-in over-the-range microwave ovens. The reason I wanted to read this is I think I may have misled some people. They're not providing installation services for everything, but they are, excuse me, for dishwashers and built-in over-the-range microwave ovens. This is now being done at the time of delivery by our delivery team for those customers wishing to have this service done and for a better consumer experience. We've also updated our website to allow customers to select the installation service at the time of checkout. So if you go to the website, you will see you will have a choice. Do you want the delivery team to install the appliance as well? You can mark it right there. Also, to mark our 75th year in business this summer, we've partnered with Frigidaire to offer for the month of June some great financing options to our customers, and they are great. Option 1, 0 payment, 0 interest, 0 down for the first 6 months on any item in store for purchases under $1,500, or 0 payment, 0 interest, 0 down for 12 months on purchases of $1,500 pre-tax or more of Frigidaire or Electrolux products only. So there it is, folks, the latest from Shields. You know what? Barry is calling again. Let's take a pass on Barry. I can't take the call from the same person I appreciate your call, Barry, but you kind of let me down yesterday. You forgot what you wanted to talk about.
And when I screened his call, he says, "I've got my stuff together, John."
to me, that doesn't show respect for the program, really.
I understand.
So as punishment, we're putting you in the penalty box for one day, Barry.
Barry in the penalty box. Okay.
We still love you, Barry, but you're in the penalty box for today, okay? I have another question here. Yeah, we still have some more? Okay, John.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, the number here, 613-413-2217. If you're not Barry, you can call that number, 613-413-2217. A text to that number, CMHC has a first-time home buyer's incentive on their webpage, says the texter. Dan says, it's a great idea, Lowell. It might just help get the kids out of the basements. Kim says, absolutely. Have many nieces and nephews who think they will never own a home. Carrie says, yes, young people should be helped. Eric says, is property tax not calculated on home value? Yes, the government will be pleased to tax the higher values. Peter says,
Wait a minute, hold it.
Yep.
That's totally irrelevant. If you buy a home, the more valuable the home is, in all probability, you're going to be paying more property tax. But that's got nothing to do with the question here today.
No, please. But I think he's referencing what I had said to you earlier, too, about the increase. And and you pointed out capital gains. So that's on me, Eric. Peter says, I'm going to run it past some younger folks who want homes and will need at some point. Kathy says, the banks have made it very difficult for first-time home buyers, even with good-paying jobs. Not only have we tried to help one of our children with a down payment, my husband would have co-signed in order for the kids to be able to buy something. That is not something that needs to be bulldozed. And Georgia says, I think the mandatory percentage down payment should be discontinued as it would help a lot of people.
We're getting away from... I understand all of that, and I'm not disagreeing. But my question is, in light of all of the problems, should we, yes or no, I'm going to ask the question that we always ask Trudeau, yes or no, should we help young people buy their first home? Maybe somebody should design a headset that doesn't fall off my head. I want to introduce another topic here. What's your view of this whole electric car craze, this electric craze that's underway? Big push to buy electric vehicles, including how many buses? 45 electric buses, which, I mean, they're costing us half again as much as a regular bus. But it seems to me that, as I said, getting back to the first topic, if we can help rich people buy electric cars, we can maybe help them buy their first home. One of the questions I have is this. Okay, so if we all switch to electric vehicles, as they're claiming we're all going to do, where in the hell is all the electrical power going to come from? Now, we have a fair amount of surplus power available. We only use about half the power available from our dams. But I want to tell you, if we electrify even 25% of the automobiles in this country, there is no way we can produce enough power. We will have to build all sorts of more structures of one kind or another, more gas plants. We just do not have the capacity right now. Certainly not 50% or certainly not 100% of electric vehicles. So where's the power going to come from to begin with? It sure as hell isn't going to come from wind and solar. Don't let them tell you that, oh, well, we can go all electric because we can create it with wind and solar. On any given day, no matter how beautiful the weather, we are very fortunate to get 5 or 10% of our needs from $20 billion worth of windmills and solar panels. So don't tell me we're going to get the electrical power from wind and solar. So where are we going to get the electric? Okay, sounds fine. Oh, we're all going to drive electric vehicles, electric buses, electric trucks, electric cars, everything. Electric airplanes, right. But where's the power going to come from? And the second question, where's all the money going to come from to reprogram the entire electrical grid? In order to accommodate all of these new electric, we're going to have to install all new electrical wiring into every single home. Where's the money going to come? It's $20 billion we've spent in Ontario alone for windmills and solar panels to produce 5 to 10% at most. So where's the money going to come from to recreate the entire electrical grid? So last year, by the way, and I've done my research on this, believe it or not, only about 5% of all new vehicles bought last year in Canada were either hybrid or fully electric. Only about 5%. And by the way, the carbon tax, as you know, was introduced by Justin Trudeau to force us to drive less and drive smaller. This was the idea. We're going to help the environment. You're going to drive smaller cars, burning less fuel, and you're going to drive less. Well, guess what? What do you think the number one selling vehicle in Canada is today? John, any idea? Number one selling vehicle.
Pickup trucks.
You got it.
Just like mine.
Yeah, he's got right. One. And it's a big one, a big doozer.
Damn right.
The number one selling automobile vehicle in Canada today is a pickup truck. Guess what the number two selling vehicle is? An SUV.
Uh-huh.
We're not buying smaller. We're buying bigger.
Yeah.
We're buying bigger and bigger, guzzling. This really, the carbon tax is really helping the environment. Anybody, any thoughts on that? Let us know, okay?
Yeah, we got a few comments.
Okay, let John, any more texts coming in?
Here we go. By the way, calls, hello, 613-413-2217. Lynn says, our electric grid could not handle it if everyone went electric. Greg says, no way electric cars will work. We have tons of natural gas. I had natural gas trucks in the early 90s. They were fantastic. Todd says, not only that, how much would your hydro bill go up? Mike says, I think electric cars are just like solar panels. A newer, better technology will soon be available.
Yes, I think that, yeah, sorry, I agree. I think that what we're going to do, and I think that there's a lot of research being done now on different methods of creating fuel. In fact, with the greenhouse gas is now being designed at MIT, for example, to be used as a fuel. They feel that very shortly we will be able to take the carbon out of the air. We already know how to do that, and we may be able, either through the addition of another chemical or some other means, create a fuel that has no emissions. That's what MIT is working on right now. Go ahead, please. Sorry, John.
One last comment, and we're still open to more. There's one now. Ray says, you can buy your electrical power from the government. Highest prices in Canada. Peter says, we can't keep the power on with what we've got now. Electric cars are fine if you live in the big city where you can get stations, etc. Tesla charging stations, more wacky liberal ideas. Everyone I recall, people bought K cars, tiny cars, and suddenly a few years ago, huge SUVs and huge honking 4x4s came along. Saw some trucks the other day listed at $90,000. Mind-blowing, says Peter. Kim asks, how are the batteries environmentally friendly? Cost big bucks to replace them, and they go right into the landfill. I call it BS. And Lynn asked the same question. Where do the batteries from electric cars go? Yeah.
I think that's another very valid point. Is there any research? I haven't been able to find any research that proves, for example, that windmills, when you factor in all of the energy required to make these things and install them, whether in the end they are even able to produce as much power as it took to make them. I don't see any evidence that there is. And as far as electric vehicles, I'd like to see the research that indicates that, in fact, it does help the environment. When you consider all of the stuff that's got to go into making those batteries, et cetera, is it really a help to the environment? Where's the research? It would seem to me that if the electric vehicle organizations, companies, if they had this kind of information, that they would have presented it to us. I haven't seen it. There may be some, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the proof that buying an electric vehicle in the end actually helps the environment. I'd really like to see that. Yes, John, go ahead.
Yeah, Todd chimes in. He says, what's going to happen when lithium becomes scarce? What will they make batteries from then? He says, this is a limited resource as well.
That's a very good point. On the vaccine, sponsor, we have to get a word in here for Centennial Glass. Well, we don't have to, but I am going to. I keep talking about the fact that in all of the years that I have talked about Centennial Glass, never had a single complaint. And I went back into my records a couple of days ago. I keep a daily diary, and I cannot find a single incident of where I had any complaint. And as I've said before, if I'm saying something and people don't agree with it or they've had bad service, I hear about it. And I had a couple of sponsors over the years that I had to drop because we did get complaints that I didn't feel were handled properly. Never had that happen with Centennial. And when you figure the thousands of customers that they must have dealt with in those years, that's saying something. In fact, I don't think there's a better recommendation than that. In all of those years, never a complaint. And, you know, I'm not suggesting that they don't have problems. Of course, if you're going to be working around homes, construction, etc., there are going to be some problems. But the thing with Centennial Glass, if there's a problem, they fix it. They fix it properly. They're good people. They take a lot of pride in their workmanship. They take a lot of pride in their reputation. They got a great reputation. Centennial Glass, industrial, near the train yards here in Ottawa, and in good old Renfrew. Yes, John.
On Twitch, the comment is, the batteries will be a nightmare if electric vehicles ever really take hold. Tom's got a point here. He says battery cases, by the way, are made of plastic. Maggie says an electric vehicle in an accident requires a hazmat team, so every fire department will need retraining.
I never thought of that.
Right?
Is that true?
Apparently.
I didn't know that.
I trust Maggie. She's pretty smart on this kind of stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Anyway, some of the comments rolling in, Facebook, Twitch, etc. for you, sir.
All right, I have to have a couple of words here on the vaccine front, okay?
All right.
People starting to scream at Doug Ford, open the province, open the province. We see 20,000 people in the Vegas arena, 45,000 fans, shoulder to shoulder, no masks, at Fenway Park in Boston. And we wonder why the Montreal Canadiens will be playing in front of a tiny handful of fans, and the Blue Jays aren't even allowed into the country. And by the way, the reason they're not allowed into the country is that's a federal decision. Now, the situation is, I think, largely misunderstood when it comes to vaccines, okay? Here is the fact, and that is that, believe it or not, listen to this. I've got all the latest figures. I'll tell you why we are so far behind the United States. It's because after more than 6 months, and it's now 6 months, first vaccines were delivered on December 14th. So it's now, yesterday was 6 months since we started the vaccine program. After 6 months, Canada still has only fully vaccinated 13% of our population. 13%. That's right. 87% of Canada's population is still not fully vaccinated. And one of the problems is that we are finding out with this new Delta variant, thank you very much for Justin Trudeau, came in through the airports, obviously, that the one shot only is only 30 to 40% effective with this new Delta variant. 2 shots, about 90%. So until we get far more people fully vaccinated, we aren't going to be able to open up. It's as simple as that. I think a lot of people simply don't understand. We're way behind the United States. 87% of our population still has not been fully vaccinated. And by the way, 35% of all Canadians don't even have their first shot yet. And there's only one person to blame for that, and it's not the provincial premiers. You know who's to blame. Justin Trudeau didn't order enough vaccines nearly early enough, and we all know the disaster that's fallen us after that. So when you see 45,000 people in Fenway Park, 20,000 people in the Vegas Arena, you know why. Point the finger at Justin Trudeau. Trudeau, you didn't get vaccines to us nearly soon enough. We're way behind. Only 13% of us are fully vaccinated. And until we get far more, I'm afraid we're still going to have all sorts of restrictions. Don't blame the premiers, please. Thank you all. Thank you, John. Some good response. And by the way, keep the texts coming in. I have a look at them. And I'm going to present this idea to the Conservative Party. I hope to hell that they will listen. Thank you all. We'll be back.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live, weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.